what's up, everybody, and welcome to the Friday Night Pigskin presented by MTD Products in Shelby. My name is Brian Skoronsky. 6 weeks in the books now of the high school football regular season, just 4 more to go, so the conference races starting to shape up a little bit. We had a ton of key matchups that went down in the 5 conferences that we cover tonight. Some teams vaulted themselves in the playoff picture, looking like they're pretty secure for a home playoff game if they can get some more wins as the season rolls along. And then a couple of upsets kind of shook up some of the pictures that we thought we knew in a few of these conferences. And the gentleman over here to my right, Eric Will, is about to break it all down for you. 6 weeks, Eric. Tell me 6 things that you know to be true.
Well, I got 6 plus 1, Brian. You know how it goes, brother. Hey, first off, Lucas is human. Having said that, they're banged up quite a bit,
too.
They are. So they're just trying to continue to you know, they've done such a good job of plug and play for a long period of time here. But Kent Central Catholic, really nice program there. Coming off an incredible win last week, now trying to get some bodies healthy. I still think that they're going to be an incredible team come playoff time. So I don't have any worries there or concerns at all. Shelby and Clear Fork, Week 10. Looks like that's going to be for the league title. Not only that, but like the outright league title. So, you know, 2-3 weeks ago, we were kind of saying Shelby and then everybody else. But what I like in the DNA of Clear Fork is they can be down by double digits and they feel nothing. They're going to continue to fight and come back. So I really like what the Colts are doing. Dave Carroll's instilled something down there that I think might serve them well Week 10 up at Skiles. That's going to be a really interesting game. And then we've got in the Firelands, it's still a 2-team race.
Yep.
St. Paul holds serve tonight, 24-21 against Plymouth. Great game. But I like the Cougars right now. Crestview is really, really good. As a matter of fact, I even talking to Storm here before we went on the air, I feel so good about Crestview right now that I like 10-0 with them. I'm looking forward already ahead to the potential rematch with Cary in the playoffs. And then Northmor East Mox next week. We're there. I can't wait.
Yeah,
that's game of the week. I think that's got to be the game of the week next week. I think that's one of those ones like the last one out, turn the lights off. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those. Cary Baby's still ruling the N10 and just dominating people. Just, you know, if you're Bucyrus, that woodshed wasn't real nice tonight to you. But Cary's really, really good. And then West Holmes actually they were at home tonight, but getting a win against Worcester. I think Worcester now solidified themselves, in my opinion, as the second best team. I think West Holmes all but locked up the OCC. I don't see anybody in the OCC beating them. They kind of got a nice win there as the game expired there. And then the last one I put here is just playoff seedings are starting to take shape.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize how important that home playoff game is. Playing in the friendly confines of your own stadium, sticking with your routine for Week 1 is unbelievably huge. I think we're going to see a lot of blowouts Week 1, but there are some fringe home games that could be the difference for some of those teams that are kind of floating around between home or being on the road.
And we've got some playoff rankings for you guys that we're going to break down after we show you all the scores, what happened around North Central Ohio tonight. So let's go ahead and dive into our scorebook, beginning with the Firelands Conference, where we always kick off the show on our Friday Night Pigskin scoreboard. And you already talked about the game. St. Paul was able to take probably Plymouth's best shot. They played really well. I was getting updates throughout the game. There was a lot of Big Red fans that were excited, thought they were going to get the dub, but the Flyers remain undefeated at 6-0. Western Reserve, the only loss right now on their schedule, to the Cougars a couple of weeks ago. And then how about the shootout Monroeville pulling out a 47-46 win over South Central? That probably was a fun game to be at.
Yeah, I think which just continues to talk about how great this conference is. I mean, St. Paul every single week is putting up a crazy amount of points. I think they've struggled on the defensive side, but offensively they score points every week. I think Monroeville's done a great job of coming on late. They've had a couple of quality wins now. And then when you look at Western Reserve, the problem is they lost that game early on against Crestview, and it's just – this is going to be there's not going to be 2 or 3 teams with 1 loss. There's going to be a 0-loss champion in this league, and it's either going to be St. Paul or Crestview. And you know, if you're Plymouth, you had it, kind of slipped away there in the second half. it's a great effort. But St. Paul has a knack for winning these type of games. I just think Crestview this year is just – I know they didn't even play. They're playing tomorrow night. But Crestview is on the cusp of something that I think that's we've never seen them do this before. I think they're going to have a historic year. I think that their DNA this year, the way that they've been set up offensively and defensively. I love the skilled kids they've got. They're tough as nails. Coach Haverdill's done a phenomenal job with that program.
And we'll have that game against Ottawa Hills for you guys live and free. That's tomorrow afternoon. Make sure that you check that one out. Move on now to the KMAC and check out the final scores here. Northmor remains undefeated. They double up Fredericktown. KMAC Trav is going to break that down for you in just a little bit. It was homecoming night for them too. East Knox continues their winning way. So you already alluded to the fact that East Knox Northmor meeting next week. Both teams still unblemished in the KMAC. Highland, another team that could be a surprise squad at the end of the season. They're still very much in the mix.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up, Brian, because they are right there. And it's kind of interesting because this is their last year, football-wise, playing in this league. So they could definitely, if they don't win it, they can definitely have a strong say in who does win it because they're a quality team. This is another one of those leagues that from top to bottom, specifically at the top and middle, is really, really good. I like East Knox. East Knox is a really, really good football team. Extremely well coached. Their kids fly around the ball. I love defensively where they're at, too. They don't give up a whole lot on that side, but they score a boatload, obviously. Northmor is a school that continues to find ways to win. I just don't know if they're going to be able to have enough offensive firepower next week against that defense of East Knox. I think the East Knox defense might be the thing. We talk about their offense because they put up a lot of points. But, man, their defense is stingy. It's aggressive. It's 11 hats to the football. They play with bad intentions. That's a nice group there. And Centerburg continues to play good football. 3-2. A team like Centerburg, they're trying to get in the playoffs. They're trying to be one of those 16 teams, and, I think they're good enough to do that. I think that there's enough left there on the plate for them to be able to eat with the big dogs a little bit.
Northmor certainly made a believer out of me tonight with their big win on homecoming, and it just so happens that their head coach, Scott Armros, hanging out with us in the chat, so he's going to jump on with us. Let's talk to him right here and now, Coach. I believe he's got a party going on at his house. As mentioned, they've got some homecoming festivities going on, and there is the head coach. Just tell me about your satisfaction. Obviously, homecoming's one of those nights it can be distracting for your guys. They got to worry about the croissants that they're going to get for the girlfriend the next day, all those different things. So for you guys to come out and hammer the Freddies in the fashion that you did, getting out to the early lead, that had to have felt good as a head coach.
Oh, it felt great, yeah. And the distractions are, they're a thing, but for our boys, we knew we had a tough football game to play tonight, and we were pretty focused on it. So we're not worried too much about the homecoming distraction. But overall, we're really satisfied with the outcome tonight.
And I'm sure you got to be geeked from what you saw from Max Lauer tonight. 262 rush yards and a score. Just describe his value and what he brings collectively to the team, because as the defensive end, he's kind of a stud too, does it on both sides.
Yeah, he does it on both sides of the ball. He's a difference maker on both sides of the football. Moving from linebacker to defensive end, he made the adjustment very quickly, and his motor never quits. He's able to carry the ball like 20 sometimes tonight and never come off the field on defense until his body gave up on him and he started cramping up a little bit. But Max Lauer is, he's a tough football player on both sides of the ball.
He was our player of the game tonight, and he told us on the post-game interview that he felt like this team much more mature than last season. In what ways do you feel like that's true, where you guys have kind of taken that next step?
Maturity comes with confidence, and confidence comes with experience, and also it comes with hard work in the weight room. So when these guys took their lumps last year, they gained a whole lot of experience, and that experience builds confidence. And they bought into our off-season weightlifting program and conditioning program, so those things give confidence too.
Well, you and East Knox tied for the KMAC lead right now. They come to your place next week. You just heard Coach Will talking about, the Bulldogs' offense, pretty good, defense, pretty good too. They've had your number the last couple of years. Why do you think it might be different next Friday night?
Coach Reese always does a great job putting a game plan together for us. They're very well coached over there. They're a really good football team. It's been a really nice rivalry here the last since KMAC has begun, and it seems like most of the time we're playing with playoff implications and conference championship implications every time we play each other. It's going to be a hard fought game. It's going to be a hard fought football game, and I would be surprised if either team scoring 40 points next week. It's going to be a defensive battle. They do a good job defensively against us. I think our defensive line is going to do a nice job, controlling line scrimmage.
I know you probably want to celebrate a little bit. It's homecoming night, probably hang out with the family, but how quickly do you throw on some East Knox tape and start breaking it down?
Well, that depends on what side of the ball you're talking about. Offensively, my mind is very simple, and I can only focus on one defense at a time. So I've seen next to no East Knox so far. Our defensive crew, they've been breaking that film down for weeks. They're ready to go.
All right, well, we're certainly looking forward to that matchup next week over at the Castle. Two teams clashing for what could determine the KMAC champion. Scott Armros, thanks so much for joining us tonight on the Friday Night Pigskin.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, yeah, baby. Live it up out there in Northmor. I know that KMAC Trav really excited that you guys got that win, and I'm sure there's lots of parties going on out there in North Bloomfield Township, so have yours, Coach. All right, let's move on and check out some of the other scores. How about the MOAC, which is another conference? Lots of parity, I think, Eric. There's tons of good teams in here. Harding, pretty competitive against Shelby tonight. Don't let the 38-12 final score fool you. That was a good game. Clear Fork showed us a little something tonight. Ontario outmatched against River Valley. And then we already talked about the Lucas score, even though they're not in the MOAC this year. So, a few outcomes tonight that maybe we expected, but a lot of the teams we thought would play well did again this week.
Yeah, and coming into this year, I think that the only surprise that I had coming in was I thought River Valley would be a little bit better earlier in the year, but they are playing much better here as of late. The Clear Fork Shelby game, we talked about that. That's week 10, but you looked at the Galleon Clear Fork game. Galleon got out to that early lead, and then Clear Fork did a great job of battling back. And you saw Clear Fork do that a couple weeks ago against Lexington, down I believe 27-7. It was something in that ballpark, and then Clear Fork staged that furious rally to get back. The Harding Shelby game, I wasn't there. But I've heard, but from what I understand, lots of turnovers, lots of missed opportunities inside the red zone, even inside the 5. Marshall put up gaudy numbers again, but also did have a couple turnovers. Defense did give up some big plays. I know that there were some plays being made through the air that they had to play kind of opportunistic, on many drives to stall out a president's move. It's one of those things that I think Shelby is the team to beat. But here's what I said about Clear Fork. I felt like they're young, but they're talented. But the way Coach Carroll coaches that team, they're growing up quickly. But I just don't know if to beat Shelby, you got to score 40 points a game. Even tonight, they had 38. 40 would have got it done.
Yeah.
Shelby's defense does concern me because I think that they have second-level issues. I think there's some linebacker issues. I think that there's some even a few issues in the secondary that have to get ironed out. Having said that, I just don't know if anybody in this league can score enough to beat them. They're going to see that team along the way when you start throwing in those SBC schools and stuff like that on the playoff side of things. But I think Clear Fork can definitely give them, I think it was one of the guys around here, I don't know if it was Storm, whoever it was, we were talking that there have been times that Shelby has looked vulnerable. And I think Clear Fork might be the team that can actually kind of maybe capitalize on some of that vulnerability. So it is a good league. River Valley, that they're 4-2. Listening to guys like me, they're probably thinking, we're going to show this clown. We're going to take. We're going to give Shelby a good run at it here in a couple weeks. So, but But, good stuff, good league. It's coming, in my opinion, I maybe even selfishly, I want it to come down to Week 10 because I'll be at that game. And I think that'd be an awesome game to have Clear Fork, Shelby, league title, and whoever wins that, outright league champion.
Yeah, Marshall Shepard, you mentioned the gaudy numbers again tonight.
Yeah.
Just 6 weeks, folks. He's only played 6 games. He broke the single-season passing yards record tonight and the single-season touchdown record tonight. That's crazy to think about. All right, let's move on and let's talk about the Northern 10 Conference, where we had one major upset, I would say. MOAC knocking off Seneca East,
Yes.
who had been on a tear as of late. We're going to have some highlights of that coming up later. He talked about the woodshed that Carey took Bucyrus to. The score kind of tells the whole story. Colonel Crawford got a huge game from Lincoln Mollenkoff, 254 yards and a bounce-back win for them. So the Eagles, 5-1. They knock off Winford, and they've, I think, taken care of Winford each of the last 3 seasons, if I'm not mistaken. So starting to kind of turn the corner, at least in that rivalry.
Yeah, absolutely. And coming in, Clear Fork Carey, we knew Carey was bringing back a lot of guys off a really, really good football team last year. And for them, 65-0, it was 44-0 at half, I believe. So, and listen, man, they're just in 2 different spots. Bucyrus is trying to build something, and Carey's there, man. They've arrived. That's a really good football team. And I agree with you. The surprise of the night, maybe even in the area, is MOAC upsetting Seneca East, because that is an upset no matter how you slice it. I don't know the story there, but kudos to MOAC for getting that win. And Colonel Crawford's done a really nice job. Coach Deklevic, great program. The development of their players from the middle school on up is showing, because you're starting to see that now. It was Winford kind of had a really firm grasp over the N10 for many years, and then it's a slow chip away process. So you've seen Seneca East dabble into that a little bit. Carey's dabbled a little bit into it. Colonel Crawford's got into it now. So, and MOAC had a great team, 10-0, 2-3 years ago?
Yeah, pretty
if I remember correctly. So MOAC's even touched it a little bit. Winford's not going away, but I just think you're seeing that Colonel Crawford has done a really nice job over the last 3 to 5 years, understanding. There's in every program, there's the chase. You're chasing after a specific team or program that's kind of owning your league, and that was Winford. That's a compliment to Winford, that all the way down from Hawkins to Travis Moyer to now, Gabe. And they're all doing a really, really nice job there. So Winford's not going away, but Colonel Crawford, man, that's a big win. That's a big win for this program. They're partying pretty hard, because that's a big Crawford County matchup too.
No doubt about it. All right, we'll take a look at our final conference of the night, the OCC, some of the bigger schools, and no question about it, the game of the night took place over in Amish country. West Holmes scoring with about 28 seconds left. Sam Williams-Dixon had a touchdown to knock off Worcester, who had made a nice comeback, Eric. So those are the 2 top schools, in our opinion, in the OCC.
Agreed.
And from everything that I saw on Twitter, just a flat-out phenomenal game. They needed every second to decide that puppy.
Yeah, Williams-Dixon, man, what a ball player. You mentioned Amish country. He's probably churning butter right now. That dude does everything, man.
He's legit.
Dude's a sophomore,
Yeah.
and he's a ball player. He's one of their best defensive backs, too. He's a really, really good football player. 41-37, that game was back and forth the whole way. Worcester's a nice program. Their biggest problem is they go play Division II playoff. You know what I mean? Like they've got, and then they get kicked up into that Northeast. You're playing Massillon and Hoban and those types of schools. I mean, that's really tough, because that's a quality program. That's a nice school. Mansfield did a nice job tonight, coming off the 2 losses, had a nice win. Brock Hill, I thought, was very measured today. Led the team in rushing. I think they had they had over 100 yards rushing. They'd only been averaging 49 coming into the game. I know only 180 through the air, but they actually ran for more than they passed today, which I actually thought was a good thing. They needed that stability. No turnovers. I thought defensively, Mansfield's Mansfield on the defensive side. That's the one calling card that they're going to be pretty consistent with. I thought Lexington, this was a 23-0 game going into the 4th quarter, and Lexington actually had the ball with a chance to cut it to a possession inside of 2 minutes with a potential onside. Coach Gerhardt continues to do his thing. The one thing I know he'll want to clean up, there were some penalties, some unsportsmanlikes, things like that I think that, those are culture things that I know he does not condone at all, and I know what type of a coach he is. He'll clean that up. And how about Ashland and Madison? That was a 7-7 game at half. Ashland went in a dogfight with Madison. I think that's two things. I think you're seeing Ashland's banged up. I think they had 4 of their 5 offensive linemen out last week. And so they're really, really banged up. And I do think Coach Stupka's Madison's getting better. I know you're not seeing a huge jump. I mean, I'm not, I'm not going to sit here and act like, they're going to go out and beat Mansfield week 10, but which they could.
They did last year.
They beat them last year. But what I'm saying is they are getting better. You can tell that the scores are closer. Sometimes you're expecting these huge turnarounds, and they're slow. And, I like Worcester. But I just think with that win tonight, I think if you were Mansfield Senior, this was the game you had to have, was you needed Worcester to get that upset to help you out. So right now you're kind of fighting for that second spot.
All right, so that's all the scores that we have from around the area tonight. Most of these schools in the OCC, they play in Division III, Region 10. Let's take a quick look at the playoff rankings heading into tonight. They're not updated yet, Eric, but now that we know the results, this is what we're looking at. Mansfield Senior, looking at a home game. West Holmes, clearly atop there. They probably have already clinched what would be a home game with a win over a D2 program like Worcester tonight. And so there's a couple of other teams kind of knocking on the door that are on the outside looking in, like a Lexington, that may still make the playoffs. So we'll see. It's an interesting region, to say the least. It's definitely loaded. There's a lot of talent out here.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good teams there. Franciscan's actually a really nice team. And then you look at River Valley. River Valley has quite a few points coming ahead. And listen, when you realize you're fighting for a potential conference championship, but also a playoff spot, you need those points. West Holmes, I think, is really, really good. Believe it or not, out of this region, I still think Columbian's the team to beat. Tiffin Columbian, you see, they're actually 4-2. They got a big win tonight over Sandusky. But Columbian's 2 losses are to a Fremont Ross team that they were up and gave a 2-touchdown lead up in the fourth quarter, and then to Avon Lake, who's Division II and is really, really good program. So Columbian is really, that's going to be a tough out. As a matter of fact, preseason coming in, pretty much most publications had Columbian as the team to beat in that region. I like West Holmes. I like Columbian. I can see that being the regional championship game. I like Mansfield defensively. I just don't trust their offense to produce enough points to beat those caliber of teams. They were right there with West Holmes, but remember, the next game's either going to be at West Holmes or it's going to be on a neutral field. Those are game-changing type things. But those are the 2 teams I like coming out of that region. But I agree with you, though. That is a gauntlet.
It's a bear, buddy.
Yeah, you have to bring your A game every single game if you're going to play in that region.
Let's check in on Division 4, Region 14 now. Lots of our area squads play in here. You see the Shelby Whippets right now with the win. Might have vaulted them into the top 8, Eric, but before tonight, on the outside looking in terms of playing at home in the playoffs, Bellevue sitting atop. We saw what they were able to do to Shelby, win in a shootout. But this is another region where there's a lot of quality opponents, and I feel like this one is a bit of a crapshoot, man.
Well, not only that, but the teams that aren't even showing up on there. I mean, you look at Port Clinton. Port Clinton beat Bellevue 49-44 the first game of the year. That's Bellevue's only loss. Van Wert, returning state champions. Their only loss to a St. Mary's team that is loaded, absolutely loaded. Took Wapakoneta out of the woodshed. Triway's 3-0. And they got a win tonight, so they're actually 4-0 now. Clyde got beat by Perkins. I mean, that's how good that is. That league is so good, the SBC, that their 4th-place team in 2019 won the state championship.
Right.
That's how good that league is. Shelby is 4-1 and sitting at 10. That's an indictment on, quite frankly, they haven't really beat anybody.
Sure.
I mean, let's be honest. Let's call it what it is. If you were to probably add up the total amount of wins by the teams that they've beaten, I don't think it's probably even 500. So that SBC is going to be a tough out. Like whoever comes out of there, you need to start throwing in the Triways and the Van Werts and stuff like that. So this with a lot of those teams at the top, when they go through their schedule and they come out, those are sledgehammers that are used to being thrown around. Like, those are really physical, run-oriented, smash-mouth teams. But I still believe that you're going to have to score a lot of points to beat Shelby. No matter who's on that list, if you're going to play Shelby, I have yet to see anybody stop the pass game. They lost to Bellevue, I get it, but it was 45-44. Shelby had 3 turnovers. In my opinion, turnovers are part of the game. But in my opinion, if Shelby just gets rid of one of those, I think they win the football game. So if you're Shelby, you got to feel good. But can you go from, let's say, a Bellevue, and then the next week you're playing Clyde or Perkins? Because are you going to have enough bodies to stand the hammer that is weeks 11, 12, and 13? That's what I've got to see out of them. I know athletically they can run with any one of those teams. I really believe that. But, man, I'm worried about the up front because like I said, Clyde, Perkins, Bellevue, Van Wert, Portland, those are good football teams. That is a great region.
That's a gauntlet right there. We'll check in on some of the smaller divisions now. D6 Region 22. Here's how it was shaken out to start the night. And you see the Cougars, who Eric already riding that gravy train, saying they probably go 10-0. Cary right in the mix there. Western Reserve too. So you see the Fireland schools representing. Colonel Crawford probably played themselves into getting up and being in a position where they would be hosting in week 1.
Yeah, I think the common denominator is we're seeing, these are great football teams. What you don't want to see is the teams that are 12 and under, because they got to play those top 4 or 5. You know what I mean? Imagine going to Archibald or Crestview. I really do. I think Cary, Tenora's unbelievable. I mean, that is a really good program. Liberty Center is always there. Always there. Man, you look that. I want to see Crestview and Cary again. I'm selfish because maybe it's because we cover them obviously as well. But man, I mean that would be awesome because of what took place last year. I have a buddy from Archibald, a real good coaching buddy of mine that he's from Archibald, and he said he told me at the beginning of the year, he's like, Willie, I'm telling you, he said Archibald's going to be off the hook.
Real deal.
And sure enough, they are. They're 5-0. He was right, but. You know what's funny is, Brian, who do you think? What do you like out of this region?
Well, some of these teams, obviously we don't have an eye for. We don't get a chance really to see what Gibsonburg looks like or Tenora or Archibald. But of our local teams, I'm with you. Crestview versus Cary, round 2. Let's see if the Cougars have grown up or if this team is different from last year's team and can hang with the Blue Devils.
Well, and not only that, the intent's good. I know the Firelands is a good conference. I know it is. Like, that isn't I think, that's an I know. That is really
about
good
4 or 5
football.
quality teams.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. And I feel like the way Crestview has handled their business all the way around, offensively, defensively, special teams, I feel like they're actually the most complete team. I really do. Now, having said that, we cover Cary. I just don't know if the N10's as tough top to bottom as the Firelands.
Sure. All right, let's move on. Division 7, Region 23 coming up right here. And not many of our local teams represented out here, but those Northmor Golden Knights, 6-0, right at the top. So they're in an area that we don't cover a ton of these teams, Eric. So at least for us, it's kind of tough to identify who some of the more challenging squads would be.
And look where most of these teams are. They're they're either central or they're just to the west of Columbus. It's kind of a central west part of the state. Afrocentric. We saw Lucas play them a couple years ago. Lots of athletes running around there. But, that Worthington team there, that's a solid team.
Sure.
Grandview Heights, really, really good program. That 2-2 is a little bit misleading as well. But here's the thing if you're Northmor. Get that home game and make one of those teams drive an hour and a half to you, because I'm telling you, those long bus rides matter. I remember in 2016, we had Bloom Carroll had to drive that's a 2-hour-plus bus ride, and I'm telling you, it matters. Their coach, even after the game, was like, our kids, we had to get off like at the off 30 and 71 just so our kids could stretch out because they had been on a bus for 2 hours. Those types of things matter when you're doing this, when you're not doing neutral site, when you're making them drive to a spot.
All right, let's check out Region 25 now, where the Cubs of Lucas, who suffered their first defeat of the season, they were the top dogs heading into tonight. that's probably going to get shaken up. St. Paul still undefeated. They may move up into the top 2. Still got Downton out there. Plymouth put up a good fight tonight against the Flyers. They might drop outside of the top 10, Eric, but quite a few of our local squads all competing, trying to get that Week 11 home game.
Right, and Warren JFK was a state champion, I believe, 3 years ago, so that's a really good region. I think Lucas might slip. They might slip, but they got a pretty commanding lead there.
Sure.
So they might even be 5-1 and still holding at the spot. I actually look for St. Paul to jump up to that 2 spot because beating Plymouth, there's a lot of points going to fall out. Remember when you were a kid and used to play the Sega Genesis? Remember Sonic the Hedgehog would get hit and all those coins would shoot everywhere? That's what happened tonight. So St. Paul's picking up all those Plymouth coins that just shot all over the place. So anyways, that's what you have going on there. St. Paul, Lucas, Downton's really good, and Plymouth. Those are the teams we cover. It wouldn't surprise me at all if we are looking at a St. Paul Lucas regional final, maybe even a regional semi. I can't speak to Independence. I know that's a quality program, but I just know that Lucas is going to be there. I really believe Luke. I feel very confident in the area. If I were to pick one team, who are you going to throw those coins on?
Yeah.
I would put my coins on Lucas because it's been a known commodity the last 7 years, and even last year they lost to JFK. Was it JFK? Yeah, they lost to JFK. Was it JFK?
Did.
Yeah, it was JFK last year because they played over in Warren. And I can tell you this, a couple of turnovers, and they were in it. They were always in it defensively. They just had a hard time getting close enough to actually get points on the board. But it was a back and forth game for most of it. I think Lucas can get back there again.
All right, and then finally we'll look at Region 27 in Division 7, where we've got the East Knox Bulldogs competing out here. And these are a lot of teams from Southern Ohio. You look at Newark Catholic, Shadyside, who knocked East Knox out of the playoffs last year, River. So, some schools that East Knox isn't familiar with until they get into postseason time, and then they have to go tango with some of these squads.
This is the route you're taking to go back to visit Travis, man. This
Country
is
roads,
this is what it looks like. You got Newark Catholic. They're a perennial team. They've won several state championships. Shadyside's always really good. That's like one of your last stops as you're actually getting ready to head out of the state and go into West Virginia. Trimble's a really good program. That's more up by the Warren area, actually. That's a really nice program there as well. I think East Knox can compete with any of these schools. I really do. If they get the win, if they're able to get that hard-fought win, because I agree with Coach, I don't look at this as being a 42-40 type game. I think he's right. I think it's going to be in the 20s. If East Knox can pull off that win, I think that guarantees them a lock home game and probably a really high seeding. You actually want to be in that 1 or 2 spot. If you can get there, and I know that's master of the obvious, but I mean that, Brian. If you can get that 1 or 2, because that makes your second round matchup more favorable as well.
No doubt about it. All right, so there's a breakdown of all of the teams that we cover here in the area and where they're sitting right now in the playoff picture. Eric, thanks so much always for bringing the juice here on the Friday Night Pigskin, and we leave it up to you folks at home every single week to decide what the top play of the week is, as well as the best individual effort. On the other side of the break, we have your top play and your Friday Night Phenom from Week 5. Stick around. That's on the way.
Headquartered in Valley City, Ohio, MTD Products is a leader in the outdoor power equipment industry. We create products that help consumers build memories. Whether it's inspiring people to care for a public garden or enjoy their backyard with family and friends, community is at the heart of what we do at MTD Products. We are looking for people who want to be a part of our future and who are dedicated to cutting-edge product innovation and outstanding customer service. We'll provide you with the necessary tools for success in your career at MTD and help inspire people to care for and enjoy the outdoors around the world.
Each and every week here on the Friday Night Pigskin, we put all of our top plays and our phenoms into your hands, and we let you, the people of North Central Ohio, decide what it was that was the best of the best from every single week. And we even had our own Storm Blunchley go on record and tell us that if Marshall Shepard were to be our phenom selection for this week, that he will cut off his hair. He is going to shave it, folks, here live on camera. We have the buzzer set up. I'm not sure yet if we get to see it. I really hope that we do. Let's go ahead and roll the clip. Who is our Friday night phenom from week number 5? Did Marshall Shepard get over the hump, or will it be another quarterback? How about this from the East Knox Bulldogs? We've got Peyton Lester for his performance against Conneton Valley, showing out. Big performance for him as the Dogs rolled to yet another win against an opponent that they picked up last second. So congratulations to this gentleman right here for having a huge performance. Lots of touchdown passes, aired it around to quite a few different guys. And Peyton Lester in his senior season getting the accolades and the acknowledgement that he certainly deserves here. Getting plays like this from some of your wideouts definitely helps as well, though. Carson Steinmetz, a big part of that. So, Storm, you get to keep your hair for at least another week. And Whip It Nation, you let my boy down again. Man, maybe next week. We'll keep the buzzers here in studio just in case. But the mullet, it lives. It lives on. As far as the top play of the week, again, you guys vote, you decide, and here it is. This was the best of the best from week number 5, according to you, the people of North Central Ohio. And the best play was, oh, how about this? Bad snap, and the Lucas Cubs take full advantage of it. Noah Langston, a scoop and a score for the Tutty as the Lucas Cubs knock off a Division II school in Lakewood that came to their place, but they weren't having none of it. Huge play right there for the Cubs. So those were your phenom and your top play from week number 5. You, the people, decide, and we bring it to you right here every Friday night. All right, guys, let's move on to everyone's favorite part of the show, the highlight portion. And speaking of those Lucas Cubs, they were at home again at Bob Wine Field tonight. Didn't go quite as well as it did a week ago. Let's go ahead and roll these moving pictures. We will show you what went down between the Cubs and Canton Central Catholic. And on the opening drive of the game, there's a fumble. So the Cubs, they're in business. They're down a couple of running backs, so they're actually going to go to the air quite a bit in this game. That's Andrew Smolin, 20-yard pass to Braden Jackson, and then here's a 15-yard dime. Broke right out of his route on the money to Aiden Color. So things were looking good for the Cubs. Just a couple of plays later, how about a 25-yard pass to Jackson with the TD? At least a lot of people thought there was so much confusion. It didn't end up counting, folks. And then on the very next play, it's going to get picked off in the end zone. Michael Monastra would come up with a huge play, and that kind of changed the tide. So Alex Anderson, 6-yard TD run. This would make it 6-0 in favor of the road team. A little bit later on, how about Takai Wells, 45-yard touchdown grab right here. It's 12-0 in favor of Canton Central Catholic, and it would finish up 15-0. So the Cubs down a couple of big athletes, and they were unable to get the win. There's your final score, 15-0. We'll see if Lucas can bounce back next week against Calvert. Kip Columbus, the next opponent on the way for Canton Central Catholic. All right, 2 big games in the MOAC tonight, and we had G-Man and Storm taking in all of the action. Let's begin with G-Man. What'd you see tonight, bud?
Yeah, Brian, I was over at High Park, got to see Clear Fork at Galleon, a big-time MOAC matchup. We all thought it was going to be for second place, but after Eric Will, man, he's trying to persuade some people. Maybe Clear Fork can go in and upset Shelby, but we'll see. Let's roll them highlights and see what happened tonight between Clear Fork and Galleon. It was a very hard-fought game. Both QBs really showed up. And Hanif Donaldson, man, he was on fire, of course, right out of the gate. 118 yards on 2 catches on the first 2 possessions. And here's this one, hitting the Heisman pose with the stiff arm into the end zone as he takes that puppy into the party zone for the Galleon Tigers. 7-0 on the next drive. Cooper Kent is going to hit none other than, of course, Heath Donaldson, a 66-yard touchdown right in the breadbasket. Hits the numbers 1-7 right in the chest, and Victor Skoog's going to respond with a 9-yard touchdown himself, making it 6-14 in favor of Galleon. And then, of course, Clear Fork's going to respond again. Devin Freeman up the middle, reaching across the pylon, 12-14. And Landon Campbell getting in the stat sheet himself with a touchdown catch. And then Skoog will get another touchdown right before half, 21-20. And Skoog again to his freshman receiver in the end zone, 28-21. They went for two, got it. And this one would be the icing on the cake. Victor Skoog, of course, with another touchdown run, 36-21. Skoog went 12-19, 197 yards in the air and a score. Had 18 carries, 67 yards and 2 touchdowns as Clear Fork will host Ontario. And, of course, Galleon will be at Shelby. Stormview will be at that game. So big-time win here from Clear Fork as they are on the mission, man. Collision course with Shelby, end of the year, week 10. They might be able to upset the Shelby Whippets. I don't know about that one, but Stormview had Shelby tonight.
Yeah, I did have Shelby, but, they got Galleon next week. Kind of wanted to get a little bit of a scouting report. Galleon started off pretty hot, but then what kind of happened to them?
Well, the first half they really dominated. The offense was going, and Cooper Kent, man, he is looking good. The young QB is really finding his rhythm, and Heath Donaldson got a bang-up injury in the end zone on defense. He banged his knee, so he was really out for the whole entire second half. He tried to play through it, but really couldn't get anything to go, and that was really the main reason. Dave Carroll and his staff made a lot of adjustment at halftime, really shut him down and shut down the Galleon offense.
Yeah, and Clear Fork's offense, they look pretty lethal out there. I mean, how do they kind of operate? What kind of makes the Clear Fork offense tick?
They're very good at playing from behind. We've seen that multiple times this year, obviously against Lexington, the big OT win. But tonight, man, they were down multiple times. They're down 14-0 in the first quarter, and then right before half, they're down at half. So they're not afraid to play from behind, and Coach Carroll has instilled that in his players. And I wouldn't be surprised, man, if Clear Fork really goes on the road and might upset Shelby. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, and you talk about that upset. Obviously, I think I can hear it in your voice. But do you think Clear Fork is actually a legitimate contender in the MOAC?
I really think they are, and I think that they compete. They got a lot of dogs up front, man. Their line is pretty big, and I think that's one of the weak points of Shelby, as you mentioned throughout the week, Storm. Their trench game, it's not where it usually is, and I think Clear Fork might be able to win that battle up front. And if they do, man, Dave Carroll might be able to go in there and steal one on the road.
Yeah, I don't know, but as you mentioned, I was up at Marion Harding looking at the Whippets, and as we get into those rolling pictures, it was an interesting one to say the least. And, of course, starting things off, who else but Marshall Shepard getting in the hands of Andre Hill, who would drag a couple of presidents along with him into the end zone. Next up, Brady Wink using his legs to get out of the pocket and finding his guy Matthew Thomas for a 6-yard touchdown pass. Then Marshall Shepard finds Andre Hill once again, this time deep for a huge 45-yard pitch and catch that would put Shelby up. Shepard on the fake screen once again. Andre Hill in the end zone. Check out the pass, just putting it right in the breadbasket where only Hill can get it. Wink now, while he's going down, somehow gets this pass to Caden Fags, who somehow holds on to this ball for 80 yards to bring this game to 24-12. And this time, Marshall Shepard's going to get it out of his hands quickly to his partner in crime, Blaine Bowman, who after a short dash would get into pay dirt. And finally, who else but Marshall Shepard to put a cherry on top of this one and find Andre Hill in the back of the end zone. Some of that tippy-toe tap cheese getting 2 feet down in the end zone for the touchdown. And that would bring us to our final score of 38-12 in favor of the Whippets. Marshall Shepard with another huge game, of course, 32 of 45 with 453 yards, 5 touchdowns. But today, something a little different, Garrett. He threw 3 interceptions, not something you hear very often. I mean, that's more interceptions than he's thrown all season. And just like Brian said, Marshall Shepard tonight, 6 weeks into the season, broke the school's touchdown, throwing touchdown record and passing touchdown record halfway through the season.
Yeah, Storm, we want to say he looked human, and he still had video game-like numbers.
Oh, yeah.
So 3 picks, though. He kind of put the ball in harm's way, but it still obviously get the win. As Eric Will mentioned, you got to put up 40 points to beat Shelby. I thought Marion Harding would hang around, and they did. What was going on with Shepard? I knew he had a few turnovers. What was going on with the offense? What wasn't clicking today?
It just looked a step slow. The whole Shelby Whippets kind of looked a step slow. Out of the gates. Couldn't really get anything going. They scored on their first possession, but then after that, it was kind of slow until they made some halftime adjustments, and then Marshall Shepard kind of came out and looked apart. But 2 of his interceptions were in the end zone, were in the red zone. So that kind of scares me a little bit. But I got faith in my Whippets.
Well, Storm, we're usually talking about the Shelby offense, but the Shelby defense really got it done tonight, only allowing 12 points. What was going on with them?
Yeah, Andre Hill, along with 254 yards and 4 touchdowns. He also had an interception. That Shelby front line, man, they're tough. They were getting to the quarterback any way they could. They were playing very well, and they really came and stepped up when their offense needed them most to hold Marion Harding to 6 points in that first half, when they needed it.
I know, Storm, you were texting me at the end of the first quarter, 7-6. You're saying, I'm a little worried. G-Man, you said that Marion Harding was going to be in the game. And what really happened to them? They were in the game at the end of the first quarter, obviously, and then stuff's kind of started going downhill. What happened to the Marion Harding offense?
Well, they were converting a lot of 3rd and longs, 4th downs. They had a beautiful fake punt, actually, and Marion Harding is no joke. They are a good football team. They're 3-3. I would argue that, and I don't even know who's 3-3 right now. They are the best 500 team in football.
They got some athletes.
They are very good, it just so happens that they stopped converting those 3rd downs. Shelby finally stepped up and clamped them down on 3rd down and 4th and long. But in the first half, Shelby let up a lot of 3rd and longs, a lot of 4th and longs, and that's what made that thing scary. That's what had my brow sweating. It was a nerve-wracking sight to say the least, but. I think that's going to do it over here at the MOAC corner. We're going to send it back over to Brian now, who's going to take care of the rest of the highlights for us.
All right, appreciate it, guys. Good stuff as always. And one of the teams that we just saw on the highlights, the Clear Fork Colts, had a big win over Fredericktown in Week 1. Since then, the Freddies been getting their act together. They've been pretty good, but they had to go on the road tonight at the Castle, where our own Travis Berardi was at, as was I. I was there too. And how about the homecoming performance of those Golden Knights, man? They were great.
One of our keys of the game tonight was focus. Try to keep that noise out for the game, and right off the bat, you saw that Northmor was focused on this game. They weren't looking ahead to that East Knox matchup either. They took care of business, and in a big way, multiple guys stepped up big for the Golden Knights. And, well, let's just roll that beautiful bean footage and we'll show you. Let's get right into the thick of things. Trenton Ramos is going to take the opening kickoff right here, and when I show you the opening kickoff, you know something special is going to happen. Takes it at the 10, gets to the outside, breaks a couple tackles, has a convoy ahead of him, and you should start calling Ramos doctor because he makes house calls. 7-0 Golden Knights, 13 seconds into the game. Get a little celebration too. Yeah, he just scored. Later in the first, Marcus Cortez going to the air, and if you have Ramos on your fantasy team, you're one happy person. Look at the catch he has in the back. 26 yards, it's 13-0 Golden Knights. Now time winding out here in the first, and Cortez, he's going to do it himself. Takes it to the right, cuts back in, untouched into the end zone. It's 20-0 Golden Knights after 1. Move ahead in the second. After the Freddies get on the board, get a little momentum, player of the game, Max Lauer, takes over, running down the sideline, 68 yards. You thought Fredericktown was going to have momentum, but Northmor right back at you in 2 plays, and that leads to Cortez once again. He's weaving through traffic. Left, right, going 30 yards to go 5, right into the student section, the home student section. Touchdown Northmor, up 34-6 at the half. Start of the second half. Here's another kickoff, so you know what's coming. Tegan Rule working his way through traffic, avoids a couple tacklers, and he is off to the races. Can the kicker catch him? No, he cannot. 84 yards, but it's too little too late. Golden Knights, they remain unbeaten, winning 40-20.
They got it going on over there at the Castle, Trav. I got to tell you, man, they got the beautiful new field turf. I like that they allowed the students out there on the sideline behind the end zone. So there's a lot to take away from this team that you got to love from Northmor. And a lot of athletes, too, that surprised me tonight, Trav. Tell the folks at home, how real are the Northmor Knights? Because I think I'm a believer now, buddy.
Well, I got to start with what Eric Will was saying about the defense for East Knox. The defense for Northmor is just as good. They have 17 takeaways through 6 games. They had a pick tonight, 13 interceptions, 4 fumble recoveries. So that defense is pretty darn good as well. They haven't allowed, well, tonight was the first time they allowed 3 touchdowns in, I believe, 4 games. They're averaging, I think, only 14 points given up per game. But then on the offensive side, Max Lauer, huge game. He was actually out, for a couple possessions because of a cramp, still goes 22 carries, 262 yards and a touchdown. Trenton Ramos, 6 catches, 72 yards, 2 touchdowns, and then that 90-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. On the other side, they really did a good job holding Rule down. 10 carries, 50 yards. He was one of the top 10 rushers in the area. If you've looked earlier this week with me and Hayden, we showed that he was, I believe, like 6th or 7th. That got hurt a little bit. I think Max Lauer is going to jump up there. Cade Carpenter, though, 19 carries, 109 yards himself. He got a lot of those yards late in garbage time, but, Fredericktown, a really good team, but, that atmosphere at Northmor, I know that was, like you said, it was your first time. It was a packed house, and just wait till next week.
It's going to be way more packed next week, so I can't wait to see East Knox and Northmor go toe-to-toe. Just give me your quick projections. You've seen both teams in person twice, I think. What's your thoughts on what's going to happen when they match up?
I don't know. This is one of those games where it's like East Knox, they've shown they could play KMAC football. Northmor, they've stepped it up this year. I mean, East Knox 2 years ago, both teams were undefeated. East Knox comes to Northmor, just runs them over en route to a state Final Four appearance. That was Northmore's only loss of the regular season. Go to last year, East Knox takes care of business as they had a good season, made to the regional quarterfinals. Northmor, not that good of a season because they were so young. But this year, they're chomping at the bit. They want to finally get that KMAC championship and that undefeated season, because the year before they lost to East Knox, they were 9-0, going to Highland and lost in a rain game to the Scots. So they don't have a KMAC championship yet. This is the year they want to look for. And like you said earlier, Max Lauer saying in our Player of the Game segment, they've grown. They're a lot better team than they were the last couple of years. They know what to do. They take care of business, and defensively, they're right up there with the East Knox Bulldogs. And I think Eric and you are right. This might be like a 28-27, a 21-20 game, because these two teams are going to go at it. And I cannot wait to be down there on Friday night.
Yeah, that's coming up next week. So certainly look forward to that. Circle it on your calendars. You're going to want to watch that one. All right, in the OCC we go now. Mansfield Senior on the road at Lexington. Tigers would get the win. We will show you how they were able to knock off one of their chief rivals in the big purple. Start things off with Brock Hill getting the first points of the game. This was early on in the first quarter, opening drive for the Tigers, and they cash in for pay dirt. Later on in the first quarter, here's Cole Pauley rolling out. He's pressured, and he's going to get intercepted. Miles Bradley, the Skywalker, goes up top to convert that, take it for the Tigers. This was later on, a couple possessions later. And how about Brock Hill carrying defenders into the end zone? Tigers would score, go for two, and they would get it. 23-0. Mansfield Senior would lead after Ricky Mills gets into the end zone here. They would go for two yet again and convert. So it looked like it was going to be a bloodbath. Mansfield Senior running away with it, but then in the fourth quarter, Lexington starting to answer back. How about Mr. Barry getting into the end zone? And it was so fun, he decided to do it again. 2 touchdowns for Barry in the fourth quarter would tighten things up. Still 7 minutes to go, and it's just a 2-possession game. So Lexington looking to drive down the field, get back into this one, but they're going deep, and there's nobody available. Nobody on the other end except for Miles Bradley, who comes up with the interception. So the Tigers seal the win over their OCC rivals on the road. And let's stay with that OCC theme. After we look at Mansfield's upcoming opponent is going to be Ashland, who we're about to see in a second. Lexington got to go on the road at unbeaten West Holmes. Both of those games next Friday night. So the OCC, still plenty of storylines that need to be written over the next several weeks. But tonight, we saw Madison go on the road at Ashland. Our own Josh Pollock was there. And not a lot of points in this game, Josh. Not really a great football in terms of mattering at the top of the OCC conference. But Ashland looking to turn the corner, get a couple of wins in a row, and they at least accomplished that goal tonight.
They did. You saw the score earlier. It was homecoming night. They were coming off a win, and they got it done again, picking up 2 wins in a row. Let's see how they got it done. We're going to start things off with Madison, actually. Coming out of the gate, this was the first drive of the game. That is going to be Lucas Warren here, who is going to take a 5-yard handoff to the left side and take it in for a touchdown. And this is where you started to think maybe things would turn around. You got Landon McFrederick from Ashland wiggling his way out of trouble, and just a dime right there for the touchdown. That was to Jonathan Metzger, We're going to have another nice pass here. This is one of my favorite highlights of the night. That is a grown man.
Wow.
He will not be denied. That is putting another 7 right up on the board. And then this one would inevitably be the nail in the coffin. We got McFrederick again. This time it is going to be going to Caden Spots for a 15-yard touchdown pass, and that was the story of the night. It was just Madison, one thing after another, just shooting themselves in the foot. They had a couple of nice defensive stands where they would get Ashland to a 3 and long or a 3rd and short, and it would be manageable. And then Ashland just did a great job of getting them to jump off sides, or there would be another penalty that would happen. And it just seemed like, I would take it back to what Eric said earlier, Madison has improved. I think a lot of the stuff that caused them to take the loss this game was self-inflicted, but there was definitely improvement. The score, I know it was only a 13-point game, but it was definitely closer than it appeared.
All right, so let's glass half full. Let's look at both of the seasons for these teams. Haven't exactly been what they would like. What can you take away from Ashland getting the win that they can build on? What did you like about the Arrows tonight, Josh?
Yeah, I thought McFrederick was very impressive. He helped get himself and his team out of a lot of tough situations. He had a lot of pressure all night long, and he was able to escape and make some plays, as you saw in the highlights. And then for Madison, I just think it's as simple as if they're able to clean up some of the stuff that they had. They had really, really crucial penalties go against them, and then also clock management at the end. There were 5 to 6 minutes left where they were down 2 scores, and you would expect them to be in a hurry, and it just didn't seem like they could get the plays in time, and it was just taking way too long for them to get stuff settled in. And so I think if you're Madison, you can look at that and go, we're not getting completely outplayed. We're doing these things to ourselves.
So for Madison, they get a chance against a pretty good Harding team coming over to their place next week to get their first victory of the year. And then for Ashland, going on the road at Mansfield Senior. So a couple of tough games coming up next week for both of these teams in the OCC. All right, appreciate it, Josh. We got one more highlight for you guys, and it was the upset of the night in the area. Let's show you how Mohawk was able to pull it off at home tonight against Seneca East. Here we go. Yeah, that's the final score, 20-14. They turned off the lights there. I guess that's all you guys get to see. We're not showing you the highlight until it comes out in its full capacity on the Facebook and the YouTube and the Instagram and everywhere else that you can digest OH.Report highlights. How about that? Was a pretty good one, though. That was good. You guys had me. Hey. You sucked me right in. So 20-14, Mohawk pulls off the victory at home tonight. They were 1-4 coming in, and they were able to do some nice things. And it looks like we got K-Mac Trav getting mic'd up. Maybe he's got some insight for us that you can drop about how the Tigers were able to go down. They had been playing good, man.
That highlight was so good I had to come back in here. I mean, big upset, though. I mean, Seneca East, one of the best teams in the Northern 10. I think they could give Cary a fight for their money, but big upset. We saw Mohawk week 1 knock off Calvert and then drop a couple tough ones. I've said before they need to get the pass and the run game going. Look, from the score at least, maybe they did. I don't know. You'll have to look when the highlight comes out, but that was a really big win for Mohawk, who gets a lot of bonus points for the playoffs. I know they were outside the top 16 before this one.
Sure.
This one will probably get them into at least the top 16. They're still on the road right now, but they get a couple more wins. They might get up towards the 8th spot.
And this is a team that I think had some pretty high expectations coming into the season. So 1-4 was not the start that they were anticipating. And one thing that they have had pretty much week in and week out is Zayden Fry, explosive plays. He got into the end zone twice tonight, once on a 31-yard pass and catch, and then once on a 60-yard run. So he is a big difference maker for them. It seems like every single week, Zayden Fry doing some big-time things, and he did it again tonight. Again, you can find that full highlight coming up in a couple of hours on all of our platforms. All right, that's all the highlights that we have for tonight. Stick around. When we come back, we'll show you what's on the menu for next week, week 7 already. We'll have those guys back in the mix. Stay tuned.
Headquartered in Valley City, Ohio, MTD Products is a leader in the outdoor power equipment industry. We create products that help consumers build memories. Whether it's inspiring people to care for a public garden or enjoy their backyard with family and friends, Community is at the heart of what we do at MTD Products. We are looking for people who want to be a part of our future and who are dedicated to cutting-edge product innovation and outstanding customer service. We'll provide you with the necessary tools for success in your career at MTD and help inspire people to care for and enjoy the outdoors around the world.
All right, guys, so 6 weeks pretty much in the books. I know that we still have a big game coming up tomorrow that we'll have live and free. Crestview taking on Ottawa Hills. But let's see what we got going on next Friday night, including 5 live games. G-Man, you're going to be over at Mansfield Senior for this one, taking on Ashland. So the Tigers, at least on paper, a favorite. How you see this baby shaking out?
Haven't got to see the Tigers this year. Excited to see the defense and see if the offense can finally get their stride and see if they can make a run for the second place in the OCC. But Ashland, haven't got to see them either. They got a tough win today over Madison. See if they can maybe go on the road and upset the Tigers.
Yeah, you can catch that one live and free. The WNCO crew, we're going to partner up with them. So that is who will be on the call. Moving on now to our next game, Ontario at Clear Fork. We'll have Josh Pollock on the call for this one. You know, a good MOAC game where the Colts, this will be one for them. Can they continue to keep it rolling? Should be able to get healthy against a young Ontario team. They'll find out over at the Colt Corral next week. The big game that everyone's got circled, KMAC Trav, can't wait to see this one. East Knox at Northmor, so they're going to have the red carpet rolled out. I'm sure for you, Trav, you're going to be sitting on your throne out there at the castle. I mean, this is a big-time game. Doesn't get much bigger than this one.
Yeah, this is the game of the week for us. Can't wait to get down there. It's going to be packed. You know, they travel from Howard, Ohio. You saw yourself, the fans were lined up against the fence on the Northmor side. The students were on one side of the end zone. You'll know East Knox is going to bring their student section on the other side of the end zone. That place is going to be packed. It's supposed to be great weather coming up next Friday, and this could very well tell who wins the KMAC. Can East Knox pull off another big victory against Northmor and be on their way to the KMAC championship, or can the Golden Knights finally get off the schneid, finally take down the Bulldogs and set up possibly another matchup with Highland, who also knocked them out a couple years ago? So that, you know, it's like a revenge tour for the Golden Knights. We'll see. Test number 1 comes up Friday night against East Knox.
Got one more KMAC game on the slate for next week. Mount Gilead is going to be on the road at Centerburg. Brian Harder, Bruce Wyrick are going to be on the call for this one. Mount Gilead, a much improved team from last season. The Indians have been competitive. Centerburg, of course, the defending KMAC champs. They got a big win tonight. So this one shaping up to be a quality contest, but everyone right now chasing Northmor and those Bulldogs. And then finally, the game that I'm going to be on the call for, the Lucas Cubs taking on the Calvert Senecas. We'll see if Lucas can bounce back. suffered their first defeat of the year tonight, got shut out at home, something that almost never happens. So the Cubs trying to claw their way back into the win column. A good chance to get healthy against a Calvert team that's been struggling so far this season. That's all of our live streams. Also got a couple of highlights on the docket for you folks as well, including those Shelby Whippets taking on the Galleon Tigers. So you guys, you see these two teams every week. What are we in store for?
Oh, I'm super excited. I'm actually probably, I think, the most excited for to see Hanif Donaldson for the first time.
Yep.
Garrett's been talking so much about him. I'm very excited to finally get to see it with my own eyes, and I'm excited to see how Shelby deals with it. I know a little bit in the post-game speech, Rob Mahaney was talking about how they were going to have to deal with him next week. So I think that this is a game that Shelby's had their eye on for a while. So Garrett, you got any insight on this one too?
Well, I think if Galleon stands any chance, Hanif Donaldson's got to get healthy this week. He was banged up at the end of tonight's game against Clear Fork. He's got to get healthy if they want to have any shot in picking up this win, man. But I like the Shelby and Whippets in this one, Storm. It's gonna be a running clock.
And my prediction was right. Marshall had 5 touchdowns. I was incorrect about who to, but he did have 5. I want everyone to know that.
Yeah, Andre Hill going off tonight, getting into the end zone a bunch. We'll see what happens when they tango with the Tigers. And then finally, we'll have Colonel Crawford on the road at Mohawk, who just picked up a big win. Crawford, they've been flying high this season too, 5-1 on the year. Travis, how do you see this one transpiring when these two teams get onto the field?
Two teams that can run the ball. This might be a combined 600-700 yard rushing attack by both Lincoln from Colonel Crawford,
Mollenkoff,
and
that's the guy.
Fry from
Mohawk, that's the guy too.
Yeah, those guys. But no, it could be a quick game too. If both teams run like this, it might be maybe 21-14, or Crawford might run up the score again like they have been the last couple of weeks. So we'll see. But a lot of running probably going to happen up at Mohawk coming up this weekend.
No doubt about it, Trav. Well, that's going to do it for our Week 6 edition of the Friday Night Pigskin. Thank you all for watching, and we got live streams coming up tomorrow. I know that we got volleyball in the morning, a big contest over at Northmor. They're taking on Lexington, and then we have those Crestview Cougars against Ottawa Hills. That goes down at 5 p.m., so just keep it locked in here on the OH.Report. Don't even go to bed. We don't. Who needs sleep? We out of here, guys.